y'all know this is a smear campaign, right? Smear campaign. That's what they do to people that they cannot control, that they cannot get out the way.
Embattled Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard in a rambling Facebook video nearly 90 minutes long. She posted that as she's facing more trouble.
She and her boyfriend are being evicted from the house they rent in Dalton. Together, the couple makes more than $300,000, according to public payroll records. But their landlord says they're not paying the rent. She talked with Dane Placco.
Initially, I didn't want to go on camera, but right now I feel like I'm at wit's end. I have nowhere else to turn.
No. Janetta Hull says she considered Tiffany Henyard a friend and even did campaign work for the Dalton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. But things changed in 2021 when she was about to rent out this 3-bedroom, 2-bath home she owns in Dalton to a family and got a late-night call from the mayor.
And she's like, hey, this is Mayor Henyard. And I'm like, hi. And then she's like, I heard that you were renting your house. And I said, yeah. And I said, I have somebody that's moving in soon. And she says, no, they can't move in because I want it. And I'm like, excuse me?
Feeling pressured, Hull says she agreed to rent the house to Henyard and her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, who holds a 6-figure job at the township. Henyard signed the original lease, and on the line asking about her job.
You see here, she only put mayor for employment.
Henyard makes nearly $300,000 as mayor and township supervisor, but is the focus of an ongoing FBI investigation for extravagant spending, questionable contracts, and using tax dollars for personal gain. Hull says things started to unravel this summer when she was forced to raise the rent by $200 to $2,400 a month because her property taxes went up again.
So with that, I had to equate that into the rent. And Kamal said that he couldn't afford it.
She says Henyard and Woods refused to pay the extra rent in August, then stopped paying altogether.
Did they pay for September?
No.
Did they pay for October?
No.
That's why you're trying to get them removed?
Yes.
Hull says not only are the couple thousands of dollars behind in rent, but they also changed the locks and garage door code, so she can't get inside.
If I push and go over there with the locksmith and try to change them back, I think that she's going to probably have me arrested.
So Hull went to court and filed an eviction lawsuit against Henyard and Woods. But Cook County sheriffs have tried and failed to serve that suit, both at the home and Village Hall. Now Hull is paying a process server to track one of them down.
What position does this put you in?
A very hard position. I'm between a rock and a hard place. I haven't worked in several months, and I am fearful that I may lose the house.
She says Henyard blocked her months ago, but with all the controversy surrounding Henyard's spending of tax dollars, she wants to send the mayor a message.
At some point, you would have to understand that karma is going to catch up to you. Just pay your rent.
She says even if Henyard and her boyfriend come up with that money, she still wants them out of her house, which is on a month-to-month lease. We reached out to the couple and Henyard's criminal defense attorney, but so far have not received a response.
The local business owner turned fugitive was found in Tepic, Mexico. That's about 100 miles north of Puerto Vallarta. He was deported to Chicago and arrested by Northbrook police at O'Hare just yesterday. Nearly 8 years after the body of a young attorney was discovered in his office on Shermer Road, his alleged killer is finally behind bars.
The U.S. Marshal's Office tirelessly assisted the Northbrook Police Department in an extensive manhunt.
John Panaligan is charged in the murder of Jigar Patel, who was 36 years old when police say he was strangled to death.
The evidence and investigation later exposed John Panaligan's carefully planned murder of Jigar Patel.
On December 7, 2016, Panaligan allegedly scheduled an appointment with Patel using an alias and even wore a disguise. Northbrook police discovered that Patel was representing a client who was suing Panaligan and his home health care business.
Within days of the murder, John Panaligan fled the country and was arrested by Canadian authorities. Multiple search warrants were executed and evidence was collected from John Panaligan and his possessions.
But with forensics still processing and not enough to charge him, Panaligan was released. When evidence confirmed he was the prime suspect, he was already on the move. Former Northbrook Police Chief Charles Wernick issued a nationwide arrest warrant.
He has, to the best of our knowledge, fled the area.
But what they didn't know is that Panaligan would be on the run for years, and finding him would turn into a multi-agency effort.
The bottom line is that if you're a fugitive from justice and you think that you're going to escape, you will not.
Police say they now hope this helps bring the Patel family some much-awaited justice.
Although I never met him personally, I understand that Jigar Patel was a charismatic and incredibly intelligent young attorney.
Panaligan has citizenship in both the U.S. and the Philippines. While they didn't go into detail, police added that they believe he was assisted by friends and family. He first appeared before a judge today and is due back in court next month.
Chicago rapper Lil Durk has been arrested by U.S. Marshals in Broward County, Florida. He was taken into custody yesterday in connection with his alleged role in the murder of rapper Quando Rondo's cousin. He was booked on murder-for-hire charges and is being held without bond. The Broward County Sheriff's Office website shows its pending trial.
The newly appointed school board members introduced themselves at the Agenda Review Committee meeting, a meeting that allows them to get up to speed on issues before the full board meeting. The new board members joined in a prayer circle with CPS CEO Pedro Martinez before their first meeting together and officially were sworn in. They replaced the 7 board members who resigned their positions while Mayor Brandon Johnson was trying to oust CPS CEO Pedro Martinez. The new board will have power to remove the CPS CEO, but it is not on the agenda for this meeting. Martinez told Fox 32 he intends to work with the new board toward resolving budget issues and paying teachers, but acknowledged his job is on the line. The drama surrounding the administration has some parents concerned.
I'm kind of worried. I don't know, everybody has their own agenda, and I'm gonna, speak my mind and let them know that, Tamayo needs to be heard. We, as parents, need to be heard.
Board members promised to work on improving CPS, but politics are a part of it.
Mayor Johnson, as I'm understanding at present, has made it clear that he will provide the maximum tax increment financing amount to Chicago Public Schools. This is the kind of leadership we need for times such as this.
And there are more changes in decision makers. The mayor's deputy mayor for education is on leave, and the public is voting for new board members to join this appointed board.
There's been a major produce recall as McDonald's works to contain the E. coli outbreak at its restaurants. So far, there have been 49 firm cases across 10 states and 1 death. And now the source of the outbreak has been confirmed. Tainted onions from Taylor Farms of Salinas, California. The supplier says it has voluntarily recalled its yellow onions, while McDonald's is limiting quarter-pounder sales in at least 4 states.
Bottom line, a restaurant cares. That's their product. That's the item that they're selling to the consumer. They want that product to be safe.
McDonald's claimed Taylor Farms only sent onions to 1 of its distribution facilities, but won't say which one. A growing number of restaurant chains taking fresh onions completely off the menu for now, including Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and KFC.
These foodborne illnesses, they're very, very rare, very uncommon, but they do happen, so we need to be vigilant.
McDonald's says it's also conducting a review of its beef suppliers as well. But despite the mitigation efforts, the company appears to have a long way to go to win back trust among its customers. Many say they simply don't believe McDonald's is putting safety first.
The information isn't as widely spread. I didn't see any notices on the door.
100% it will affect me coming to McDonald's in the future because, how can you trust a place that allows this to happen?
Earlier this week, McDonald's was hit with the first of what is expected to be multiple lawsuits related to the E. coli outbreak.
On March 29th in 1979, 19-year-old Kathy Hawley left her home in North Aurora to pick up her sister at the Northgate Shopping Center. Well, she never made it. She was found dead 3 weeks later in the Fox River.
And today, after 45 long years, her cold case murder has been solved. 2019, investigators with the Loudoun Police Department reopened that cold case, murder of 16-year-old Pamela Maurer. and discovered DNA evidence that links serial killer Bruce Lindahl to her homicide. Police then used DNA evidence found in Holly's clothing to link Lindahl to her murder.
It doesn't save Kathy. It doesn't hold any justice for Bruce, but it's, the pride that we were able to give closure to the family on this. That was really important to us.
The family is asking for privacy at this time, but did release a statement expressing their gratitude to the North Aurora Police Department. We're following breaking news. Prosecutors are recommending Eric and Lyle Menendez be resentenced for the 1989 killings of their parents in the family's Beverly Hills home.
Now, this decision will provide the brothers with an opportunity for freedom after 34 years behind bars. It was back in 1996. They were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole after they admitted to shooting and killing their parents. The brothers said they feared their parents were about to kill them to stop people from finding out that their father had sexually abused Eric for years. At a press conference within this past hour, the district attorney in Los Angeles said he will recommend resentencing to the court tomorrow. Now, here is what that means.
We're going to recommend to the court that the life without the possibility of parole be removed and that they will be sentenced for murder, which, because there are 2 murders involved, that will be 50 years to life. However, because of their age, under the law, since they were under 26 years of age at the time that these crimes occurred, they will be eligible for parole immediately.
If you have followed this case, you know the Menendez brothers were tried 2 times for their parents' murders. First ending in a hung jury. Prosecutors at that time argued there was no evidence of molestation, and many details in their story of sexual abuse were not permitted in the second trial. Prosecutors also claimed the boys were after their parents' multi-million-dollar estate.
And this trial is really just getting started. There are hundreds of recordings and exhibits the jury will be presented with over the course of what's expected to take 11 weeks.
Dan? Yes. Mike Madigan? Mr. Speaker, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm good, thank you.
Once a political powerhouse, Mike Madigan is now on trial for what federal prosecutors are calling a criminal enterprise.
If you can, get in your mind that your client is only Mike Madigan.
On Thursday, the first week of his trial ended with the government rolling the tapes. Secret recordings featuring conversations between Mike Madigan, his confidant and co-defendant Michael McLean, secretaries and other acquaintances.
I generally never refer to the speaker. I just say our friend. So if you just say our friend, no one really knows what we're talking about.
Together, Madigan and McLean are facing 23 felony counts, including racketeering, bribery, wire fraud, and extortion.
Sorry about that stupid Cullerton move.
Well, that's what I want to talk to you about.
In one recording, federal prosecutors say Madigan and McLean are discussing a political ad they weren't happy with that was put out by John Cullerton, former president of the Illinois Senate. So McLean offers this suggestion.
So right now, I'd let the agents give him body blows. But, I mean, sooner or later, you gotta approach him and say that it was really inappropriate.
On the witness stand for much of Thursday afternoon was FBI Special Agent Ryan McDonald. He's been working the case for years. He says there are upwards of 20,000 recorded calls in connection to McLean's phone tap.
Speaker's office.
Hey, Micah.
Hey.
Will you tell the speaker I took care of Barrios and Panaligan? You could just throw away that note.
Yep.
Before jurors were sent home for the night, Robert Rita, a member of the Illinois House of Representatives, was called to the stand. With no trial on Fridays, he will resume testimony on Monday. And looking ahead to Election Day, the judge has moved the start time for jurors to 11 a.m., giving them the opportunity to vote beforehand.
I'm meteorologist Mike Kaplan. Fall is such a beautiful time of year. The colors are blazing. And where do they look their best? From above. If you see a lot of these little leaves on the ground, don't be surprised. These are some of the first leaves to fall in fall, and they come off of this tree. It's a honey locust. Get a beautiful bright yellow before they drop. One of the more beautiful trees in fall are the pears. This is a Callery or Bradford pear, and look at that vibrant red that's coming out right now. The only problem with these trees, a lot of homeowners know this, they tend to break. These are declared an invasive species. Probably not the best to have in the garden, but you can see why they are so appealing with that fall color. One of the more interesting trees is this one. It's a ginkgo biloba. You've probably heard about that for its potential medicinal values. It's one of the oldest species of trees, and something noteworthy about it, these leaves will turn yellow, and every single one of them will fall off this tree at the same date. So it's not just the leaves that get color in fall. Take a look at this viburnum. Sure, these beautiful crimson and green leaves are appealing, but what do you think of these purple berries that pop up this time of year? So here's what happens, why a leaf actually falls off the tree. During fall, chemical processes happen here so that the veins in the leaf going through this, it's called the petiole, kind of shuts off the flow of liquid from the leaf and from the tree itself. And eventually, it's going to trap some of the sugars inside the leaf, like the anthocyanins, which bring out this bright red color in the maple leaf. And then, as the cells close off where the leaf joins the branches, the leaf has no alternative but to fall. There are many beautiful tree-lined streets in Chicagoland where the fall foliage is putting on a fantastic display. Well, this happens to be my favorite. It's close to home. It's in the greater Gurnee Metroplex where I grew up. This is Almond Road, and I can't think of anywhere else in Chicagoland where there are so many surviving ash trees putting on this kind of a display all at the same time. So how does it all happen? The magic of fall. Well, it's really tied to the length of daylight. As the amount of sunlight decreases this time of year, a special signal goes off in the trees. They talk to the leaves and they say, you know what? Time to stop making chlorophyll. That's one of the 3 pigments that you find in leaves, and obviously chlorophyll is the green one. One of the other pigments, these are called carotenoids, they create the yellows and gold colors. They're there pretty much year-round. The last pigment, and this is the really pretty one, these are the anthocyanins. They create those beautiful purples and reds and crimsons. Those chemicals really peak when you have ideal conditions. We haven't had ideal conditions. The trees love it when you have sunlight and ample moisture. Well, we've had plenty of sunshine lately, but we have not had much rainfall. Consequently, color display may not be that spectacular in some areas this year because of how dry it has been. That said, there's no stopping the color. It's coming. Generally, southern suburbs, you're going to get into the color a little bit later than the northern suburbs, where I happen to be right now. October, usually the peak month. Early to mid-October, some of the northern, Lake McHenry County, northern Kane County, City, Cook County, DuPage County, and maybe a week or 2 later. Some of the southern suburbs, you're not going to be peaking until closer to the end of October. But even with this drought, we're still getting some fantastic color. And even in this ash tree, you can see those anthocyanins going to work, trying to bring out some of the reds in those leaves.
Beyond the barbed wire and locked doors at Cook County Jail's Division 11, something significant is happening not many know about. Through a civics class, Nathaniel Carswell and others temporarily held and not serving a sentence are learning their vote still holds power.
Just to advise you of what you can and can't do and how your votes does matter. A lot of people don't even know how to vote, so this class was very educational.
This isn't just about how to fill out a ballot. Marquise Tucker, another detainee, says it's about reclaiming a voice society often tries to silence.
They probably think we just up in here and working out and doing stuff to waste our time, but it's a lot of well-informed guys on the tier I'm on, and we do a lot of watching news, you know.
Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart says the jail doesn't just teach about democracy, it offers direct access to it. Detainees can cast their ballots in a space of reflection and redemption, the chapel.
We sit and talk a great deal about how we want people who get involved in the criminal justice system to be re-engaged in community. We want them to get jobs and be engaged with their families. We talk about that all the time. But what better way to really give someone a sense of ownership in their own community than you're voting? I mean, you're the one deciding who's going to be your alderman, your state representative, the president of the United States. And that gives you a sense of ownership in your community.
In 2020, Cook County Jail became the first in the country to set up a polling place inside its walls. Today, it remains one of the few locations in the U.S. where people in custody can weigh in on the election.
We get a better turnout in people in the jail than people on the outside.
With over 50% of its registered detainees voting in a recent election compared to just 36% citywide, Sheriff Dart says it's clear voting behind bars carries weight. For Nathaniel and Marquise, voting last Saturday for president and county judges was more than a civic duty. It's about shaping what happens next.
You know, I have 2 children. I just want the candidates to make it safe for my kids.
And it's not just detainees who can vote. Illinois law automatically restores voting rights once an individual is no longer in custody of the Department of Corrections. Those on probation or parole can re-register and vote as well. But many aren't aware their rights have been reinstated, which is why resources like restoreyourvote.org are so important. That website helps people with past convictions figure out if they can vote, and it walks them through the process step by step.
Von Steuben High School is taking their band on the road for their 4th annual Flash Mob Tour. Today, they're visiting 6 local elementary schools to promote music education. The band's going to play for 15 minutes at each of those 6 stops, and students are even going to have a chance to try out some of those instruments. This morning, we're joined by band director Now Taylor and Malachi Williams, who's a senior and trumpet section leader. And now, how would you say that this Flash Mob Tour helps prepare your students for college and even helps them get scholarships?
Well, the beautiful thing is many of the students that we'll hear today have only been playing for 2 to 3 years. And so no experience needed as you come through. We'll get you trained. Many of the students are starting out at the freshman year, and we have over 50 performances a year to set them up for the college scholarships. We just found out recently that you can actually get paid to play an instrument in a college band without majoring in music. So you can major in engineering or whatever you want to. As long as you can play an instrument well, they'll give you some money to play in their band.
And you've got Malachi with you, who's one of your seniors and the leader of the trumpet section. How would you say that he's grown as both a student and a band, as being a participant in the band over his 4 years in that program?
Malachi has started out at our freshman year on trumpet, got his feet wet. Next thing you know, he was the section leader, and now he's even considering going into music ed or business. Because he was a section leader and he got that experience working with students, working with other people, which sometimes can be the challenging part, right? He has now have that experience, and now he's ready to pursue it at a higher level.
We're wishing him good luck for sure. But before we let you guys go, we want to see what your band has for us this morning.
All right. Go right that front. Go, go, go. Seven Nation. Seven Nation.
The Von Steuben High School band performers are doing a flash mob at 6 local elementary schools where they're hoping to inspire the next generation of band stars.
Fans and supporters of Bears Hall of Famer Steve McMichael coming together for Mongo tonight, a fundraiser with his wife Misty. She offered an update on his battle with ALS. Our Casey Cronus is live from Goose Island. Casey.
Misty tells me Steve is doing well and at home resting tonight. This event is part of a series of events during football season to raise money for various organizations and initiatives. And here at Joe's on Weed, the party is just getting started because this week, Steve McMichael's medical fund was selected. August, a long-awaited dream of the McMichael family came true. Steve Mongo McMichael was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
There's 300 million professional football players in the world, 378 in the Hall of Fame. He's 376, but only 182 are alive.
As the journey to get there has come to a fabulous finish, McMichael's fight against ALS is far from over.
He's got a trach, he's got a feeding tube, he's got a colostomy tube and a permanent catheter, but this man is strong.
His wife, Misty, was honored during a charity event at Joe's on Weed during Monday Night Football. There, fans and supporters raised money to support Mongo's medical needs.
Steve has 24-hour nurses. It's like $13,000 a month. The NFL gives me $144,000 a year, but it costs like $156,000. So I need to raise about $16,000 a year to compensate for the difference.
Teammate and close friend Bruce Heron tells us he visited Steve just a few days ago to wish him a happy birthday and tells us about the special moment they shared.
We were, sitting around the bed and we would talk about stuff, back when we were playing and say, Mongo, you remember that? His eyes would do this, and so we all knew that he could hear what we were saying, and his expression, his eye expression, was his way of responding to us.
Mongo turned 67 last week, or as Misty puts it, his jersey number backwards. For more information on next week's event and the charity it will benefit, just head to our website.
Yeah, they and their surrogates, is what you're seeing, are prioritizing these visits to swing states, especially ahead of what's already an extremely tight race. So let's talk about former President Donald Trump. He put on an apron, took on the fry station and the drive-thru there at the Golden Arches McDonald's in Pennsylvania on Sunday. Now, while the McDonald's was actually closed at the time to the public, he did talk to employees and served pre-selected people at the drive-thru while answering questions from reporters. Now, Trump claims Vice President Kamala Harris lied about working at the fast food restaurant while she was younger.
It was a big part of her resume that she worked at McDonald's, how tough a job it was. She specifically worked at the French fry, where they make the French fries, and she talked about the heat. It was so tough. She never worked at McDonald's.
Well, here's a note. On the McDonald's door, they emphasize that the company is not a political organization, but this visit highlights the importance of the fast food chain to America's economy. The restaurant chain actually says 1 in 8 Americans will work at a McDonald's in their lifetime. I happen to be one of those people. Harris's campaign says she was an employee of the McDonald's on Central Avenue in Alameda during the summer of 1983 after her freshman year at Howard University. And speaking of the vice president, she spent her 60th birthday in Georgia, visiting 2 churches in Atlanta. The crowd singing happy birthday to her. Her church visits were a part of a nationwide push known as Souls to the Polls. It's been going on for about 60 years now. It's an effort to encourage black voters in battleground states to vote.
Our country is at a crossroads, and where we go from here is up to us, as Americans and as people of faith. And now we ask a question, we face this question, what kind of country do we want to live in? A country of chaos, fear, and hate, or a country of freedom, compassion, and justice?
Any edge could deliver this race to either candidate. Right now, the Real Clear Politics average has Harris over Trump nationally, but by just 9/10 of a point. Trump will visit North Carolina this week as residents there, of course, continue to recover from the hurricanes earlier this month. Helene, followed by Milton. Harris will make a stop in Wisconsin today and then campaign with former GOP Congresswoman Liz Cheney in Pennsylvania, who calls herself a never-Trumper, trying to get some of those disaffected Republicans later this week.
In today's Health Watch, the fall season is now in full swing, and you may find your seasonal allergies are worse this year. Pollen has been building up because of the lack of rain and higher than normal temps.
So we're thrilled this afternoon to be joined by Dr. Amit Patel, an allergist with Loyola Medicine. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so I, for one, am an asthmatic, so for me, I'm always extra sensitive when the allergies start to tick up. It seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, when the leaves start falling, I'm always wheezing a little bit more. Does that come into play?
Yeah, so what you're describing there is the phenomenon of not only ragweed allergy, but also mold spores. What we're seeing now is that pollen counts are starting earlier and they're lasting much longer into the fall season. The average span of the freeze-free days nowadays in America have increased by 21 days. So that means that leaves are falling later and allergy season is staying longer. And when the leaves are falling, that's when all those mold spores are kind of being inhaled into your lungs and can be really problematic for asthmatics.
This time of year, too, it's hard for a lot of people to distinguish whether it's their allergies or a cold or COVID. Maybe not so much for them, but the people around them are constantly telling them, hey, it's my allergies. Don't worry, this is not COVID. What is the biggest difference between all of those?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we definitely encounter that a lot in clinic as well. People are worried because, they're embarrassed by their coughing and people think that they might be infectious. But a good way to tell the difference is if you are having more of the fevers, malaise, general body aches, then that points you more towards a viral or bacterial infection. If you're just having the itchy nose, sneezing, runny nose, coughing, without the fevers or malaise, then that points more towards allergies, of course, although allergies can make you prone to sinus infections as well.
Don't want to turn it into a commercial, but people want relief. Are there OTC medications that you like when the allergies are particularly troublesome?
So, your over-the-counter Zyrtec, Allegra, Claritin can be helpful, as well as intranasal steroid sprays such as fluticasone or Nasacort are all potential options. And then if those are not enough, then obviously come visit your allergy immunology team, and we're happy to try to see what else we can do for you.
Doc, we're getting to wrap, but I do have one more question for you. I know a lot of people with year-round allergies feel like they have to switch up the medications that they're taking because the effects wear off. Is that common?
Another great question. I have heard that as well. There's been no data to definitively suggest that over time your body's response to the antihistamine will go down, but it's not a bad idea if you feel like it's been more than 6 months on one particular oral antihistamine to switch to a different one, because all three can be pretty much equivalent in their efficacy, and it's just different for each person's body which one works the best for you.
Good stuff today. Dr. Amit Patel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
New autopsy results show that One Direction singer Liam Payne had a combination of different drugs in the system when he died. One of those drugs is known as pink cocaine. It is said to be a combination of meth, ketamine, and MDMA. Fox Medical Team's Dr. Mike joins us with more. Good morning, Dr. Mike. And what exactly is pink cocaine? I hadn't heard of this one before.
Well, it's a nightmare from hell, Brian. That's what it is. It's got food coloring in it to make it look nice and pink. And it doesn't have cocaine in it, even though it's called pink cocaine. It's got ketamine, which is a dissociative type drug. It's got ecstasy, and it's got benzodiazepines, all of these drugs. So benzodiazepines are like Valium. So you're not going to be in the right state of mind. And it's so sad and unfortunate. And if I were involved with him and his family, I want to know where he got it, because this is just a tragedy. Just not good.
Yeah, it is a terrible situation. Now, is this a drug that you think we're going to start hearing a lot more about, like we've recently been hearing about fentanyl a lot more, which is very, very addictive? How does this drug maybe compare to that one?
Well, many of these drugs have a dissociative effect. You feel like you're out of your body. You might do things that you normally wouldn't do. And I fear that he may have been hallucinating. He thought he could fly. You know, who knows? It brings back memories of the 60s with LSD and all of that. So my feeling here is, look, if you have a loved one that you suspect maybe doing anything like this, you need to intervene early and have a non-inflammatory discussion. You know, you want to validate what they're doing, what's going on in their lives, but get them help before this sort of thing leads to the tragedy that we're observing here. It's senseless.
It
Terrible.
is senseless and sad. Okay, switching gears a little bit now. New medical records show that overweight teens who use Ozempic were less likely to have suicidal thoughts or attempts than those actually treated with behavioral interventions. So, Dr. Mike, what is the link between Ozempic and teens feeling a little bit better and not kind of taking that step towards suicide?
Well, fascinating study, Brian. And basically, if I could answer the exact reason, I'd probably be up for a Nobel Prize. But researchers think that it may have something to do with the fact that these drugs not only help you lose weight, but they may have positive effects on the brain, all right? And may reduce depression. We know for a fact, Brian, that many people who are heavy smokers and heavy drinkers, when they get on these medications, all of a sudden they say, you know, I don't have a desire for that. And we think that it may be positive effects on brain biochemistry. So not only are obese kids prone to anxiety and depression, but they have weight loss with this, and it may have positive effects in terms of their brain biochemistry and make them less likely to have suicidal thoughts.
Dr. Mike, that's great news for sure. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
So then I just start calling pharmacies individually to see who has it in stock, because they can see who has it in stock. And at one point they told me Carol Stream had it. I'm like, fine, I don't own a car. I was going to rent a car and go. And I called them, they're like, yeah, we just sold out. We don't have any more.
This Chicago woman was anxious to refill a hormone patch her doctor recently prescribed her to treat perimenopause symptoms. Symptoms she had struggled with for years and finally found some relief.
It was like night and day after I got it. The brain fog was gone. I felt like myself again, and no more hot flashes. I mean, and I could sleep better too.
She had been taking the hormone patch for only a few months when suddenly her pharmacy told her in mid-August that it wouldn't be available until October. It was on back order and she only had 1 week left of medication.
The pharmacist would tell me, well, just tell your doctor to prescribe you something else in the meantime to tide you over until this comes in stock.
Dr. Mary Farry is a gynecologist and certified menopause practitioner at Rush University Medical Center. She says you can't easily switch up this type of medication.
You know, if somebody has found something that works for them, then we want to try and stick with that. And just like with birth control pills, some people tolerate certain pills and some patients don't.
It's important to keep in mind a doctor's first drug of choice for a patient tops the list for more than one reason.
And it's usually more effective. Has a better side effect profile, so it's more tolerable for patients, or it's more cost effective, so it might be cheaper for a patient. And when we're short of a drug and we have to move to a second line of treatment, we're sacrificing something in one of those categories.
Michael Gagnon is with the American Society of Health System Pharmacists. It's been tracking drug shortages in the U.S. since 2001 and reported they were at a record high last year with more than 300 shortages.
But we continue to see drug shortages increase or remain the same. We've seen some decline, but it seems like every time we make up some ground on shortages, the next quarter hits and we have more shortages than before.
Gagnon says there are currently 300 individual drug shortages. Among those, the top 5 categories are central nervous system drugs, antibiotics, chemotherapy drugs, basic fluids and electrolytes, hormonal agents, which includes menopause drugs.
A lot of times we don't get a reason for shortages, and that's the instance with some of these hormonal drugs. The manufacturers don't have to provide a reason to us nor to the FDA about why a particular drug is in shortage. So the FDA released a report in 2019 and found that the problem behind a lot of these shortages is investment in quality at the manufacturer level.
Gagnon adds drug shortages have become status quo as clinicians have found a way to live with them, and that not much will change until lawmakers take action.
I literally had to call 11 pharmacies until I found a Mariano's, which was all the way at the edge of the city, and I took an hour-long bus ride to get there to pick it up.
And then she had to take a $30 Uber ride to get back home after picking up medicine that was fully covered by her insurance.
If this were a men's medication like Viagra, I'm assuming that there would never be this issue of them running out of stock. You should be able to get it at your local pharmacy or mail order supply. I had the time and the resources to do this. What about women that don't have the time and the resources due to their circumstances? What does that leave them, and how are they going to be? Are they going to be without their medication?
That would be easy to do. The corn, just a little higher than your average WNBA player, I would say, out here at County Line Orchard, where, yes, this maize is getting a lot of attention because of Indiana's basketball star Caitlyn Clark. Dana Moore is here with me. She's the chief operating officer at County Line, who had a light bulb go off several months ago. Tell me how you thought of this.
Well, and I can't take credit for the light bulb. It was my niece's. But we were watching the WNBA draft, and of course Caitlyn Clark got selected by the Fever. Yay! And my nieces said, Auntie Dana, that should be your corn maze this year. And I said, I love it. So I texted our owner immediately. He responded with, I'm in. And from there, it was really just off to the races. Our marketing team put together a graphic, submitted it to the corn maze team, and then they built really what you see here.
And when it was all finished, I mean, what that feeling must have been for you. Did you have somebody, did you go up in a plane and look at it, or have somebody just take you show you a picture?
Yeah, I didn't get to go up in a plane. That would have been fun, but we did have a local photographer go up and take drone footage, and it's really been special. And we've been recognized by People Magazine and ESPN and Sports Illustrated and all these kinds of things. But I think it really exemplifies the weight that Caitlyn Clark carries, how many people respect her, and who she is. So.
And especially in Indiana right now. And we also have a couple of pictures. I hope we can pop those up, because this actually helped us score some tickets to see Caitlyn Clark play. What was that like?
It was really incredible. Allison Barber of the Fever reached out and said, hey, can you get your nieces down here for a basketball game? And in a matter of about 6 hours, we figured it out and made the trek, and it was really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me and them. But Caitlyn Clark was kind enough to come over and sign their jerseys, and the smiles on their faces I will never, ever forget. And I think I'll probably be Aunt of the Century.
You sure will. And I'm sure the folks here at County Line are pretty happy with your idea as well. So thank you so much for talking to us. And we do want to tell you, the drive alone down here is beautiful, looking at all the foliage. They've got the apples, the apple donuts and the caramel apples and all of that. And then this corn maze, so lots to see out here in Hobart, Indiana. Back to you guys in the studio.
Such a cool opportunity, right?
Yeah, I love it. Make sure, I love when they come with a map, the corn maze, because that helps. And make sure, my own experience, bring a flashlight if it gets dark.
The Gus dancers, everybody, as I provide.
What a moment to come back. Good morning. Good morning, Chicago.
It's a good thing you are familiar with improv comedy.
I'm vaguely.
Those were the Gus dancers, and they are.
Give it up for the Gus dancers, Chicago.
Yes, indeed.
Everybody, yes.
Joined now by Alex Moffett. You may recognize him from SNL. You may recognize him from being on The Bear. And you got your start right here in Chicago. You're a Chicago. Is everything okay,
He's
Alex?
giving me something about. Yeah.
Okay.
Are we okay? Is it off?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
We're good. We are good.
Can you hear me out in Schaumburg?
Alex Moffett, welcome to Orange Friday. We appreciate it. And you're back home in your hometown.
Hell
Love the jacket.
yeah. Thank you.
What brings you back to town?
Funny you should ask. That you guys really keep me on my toes here with what camera you're picking. I'm doing some stand-up this weekend in Batavia.
Okay. What do people
Not what you
need
thought
to know?
I'd say. The Comedy Vault. It used to be a bank. Now you can just go there and chuckle your buns off. We'll tickle your ribs for the low price of. I think tickets are like $1.50 or something. No, I don't quote me on that. But yeah, out in Batavia, Illinois, if you can, take the westbound Rockford train.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
What's it like being able to come back? I mean, you're an SNL alum. You were on that show for, 5-6 years?
I thought you were going to say 5 or 6 seconds. Yeah, there he is. Look at that guy.
Yes, Weekend Update, rocking it. And to be able to come, you grew up in the northern suburbs. It's
Yes.
like coming back to town to perform.
I love it. All my family's here. I got 3 older sisters, and they're vying for my time.
Mm-hmm.
Nieces, nephews, my in-laws are here, all my pals. So it's great. I come back. I, crashed at one of my sister's places and did a show last night to some very, very, delighted Batavians. And now I get to be out in this wonderful plaza on Michigan Avenue with you.
What is on your agenda while you're in town? Do you have any go-to spots that you just gotta hit?
Do I ever? I always go and eat, in the every meal I eat is in the Signature Room in the Hancock.
There you go.
I'm kidding. I love
the recently shut down Signature.
For real?
Yeah. It was a dramatic fashion. It was very sudden.
What happened?
Very sudden. Well, that's another conversation.
No,
But
it's
yes,
this one.
The employees got laid off very, very, very suddenly.
Ooh,
Signature
bad
Room.
form, John
Speaking
Hancock.
of Chicago, Alex,
Anyway,
you're
to
rolling
answer
the
your
bear.
question, Walker Brothers Pancake
Oh,
House,
yes.
Winnetka, Homer's for all your most delicious ass cream you could ever lick. Let's see, what else? I love Pequods and Lou Malnati's. We got a Pequods, man. I love that Weber Grill. My
So
first
good.
job out of college, I worked at Laughlin Constable, which is an ad agency based in Milwaukee. And the HR lady, my first day of work, came into town from Milwaukee, Joyce O'Brien. Hi, Joyce. And she took me to the Weber Grill. She did not take me to the Weber Grill when I got fired from that job, but still, we'll always have that.
You played a role in The Bear. What was that experience like? There's so much buzz around that show right now.
Yeah, it's a buzzword. It's a water cooler show, isn't it?
Yeah.
I had a blast. I played, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil anything, but I will. In the season finale, I get caught for smoking some meth in the alley. So there's spoiler alert, but it's been out for over a year. If you haven't seen it at this point, that's on you.
We are going to go through the specifics of your comedy show in just a
Might
moment,
as
but
well.
in the meantime, what other projects you got cooking right now? What can we expect from Alex Moffett in the near future?
Well, mainly Batavia stand-up.
Okay.
They told me doing this show would move at least 3 to 4 tickets for
Perfect.
tonight's show and tomorrow's show. So let's spread those out over the next 4. I have 2 tonight and 2 tomorrow night. So get your ticks now. It's online. Google it. The Comedy Vault in Batavia. Axel Muffat.
Okay.
Headlining.
Perfect.
Oh, it's also their 3-year anniversary weekend.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. And then other than that, I'm doing theater in New York, where I live now.
Okay.
And it's called Big Gay Jamboree. You should come. It's
I
fun.
will. If we're ever in New York, you can count me in. Alex Moffett, great to have you back in your
great.
hometown.
I love
Good
out of the
luck
corner
with
of
your,
my eye still all
with
these
your shows
kids,
this weekend, and we are back with
zombies.
more Orange Friday right after this.
This has been your Fox 32 Week in Review. See you around next week.